Welcome everybody to Clang the podcast, now sponsored by the wonderful people at DRC Shipping. What do their services include, Pete?
So they include warehousing, pick, pack, fulfillment, air freight import and export, ocean freight import and export, road freight to and from all major European cities, and they're pharma specialists. They've also got a specialism in publisher services, so exporting magazines and books worldwide.
Fantastic. For all your shipping needs and the export-import business, DRC Shipping, everybody. Check their website out. Now, enjoy the podcast. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Clang, the podcast, episode something or other. I can't tell you because it's
four.
Is it
no,
four?
It's four. Oh. It's four.
Okay, awesome. See, I'm a drummer. Anything past two is always a little bit. If you go into three, it's all a bit prog, and definitely don't go there five. So, okay, four is a good one. Our special guest this week, ladies and gentlemen. You may not recognise him instantly. You may not instantly know his name, but I bet you £1,000 that he's had something to do with an album or single that you have bought over the last 30 odd years. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this man is a internationally acclaimed music plugger, which basically means all your favourite songs, he got them on the radio or in the music press or on telly. Ladies and gentlemen, Dylan White.
Thank you, Smiley.
It's more applause than I get on my pub gigs, that is.
We do like an applause sound effect.
Yeah, I like that. That's great. How are you, my friends?
Yeah, I'm very well, Smiley. And hello, Peter. I've not met you before.
You have met me before. We met. I was at I was at the Smiley's Heroes in Hampton.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's come back to me now. Yeah. The Hampton gig.
Yeah. So you're all right. We have met before, but anyway, really lovely to see you again. Always a pleasure.
So, Dylan, my man, please tell everybody, how long have you been a music plugger?
I've been a music plugger since February 1991. I know that very accurately because to cut a long story short, how long have we got? An hour?
You've got 45 minutes, so don't...
Yeah.
Be quick.
Through Gary Blackburn, I was managing a band. Gary Crowley played this band on BBC London. And I said, how do I get other people to play? He went, you need a plugger. I went, well, what's that? He went, well, somebody gets records played on the radio. He said, go and see a fella called Gary Blackburn. So I went to see him, and he was plugging the Beautiful South and the Farm. And I hired him to plug this little band, which he charged me a few quid to do. And over two singles, he sort of grew to like my enthusiasm and wacky promotional ideas. And I was working on a building site, delivering office furniture, fitting office furniture, which is how I got the money to actually manage this band and pay for their records. And he rang me up and said, Dylan, I've got the Farm on the Word tomorrow night, or 2 nights time. Come along and join me. And I went to the Word that Friday night. I met the Farm, and then he said, I need a radio oppo. So I lived in Bayswater, then, so relatively near to the West End. And I could go to Radio 1 and look at the scripts then. It was all done on paper. Don't forget, no emails or nothing.
The glory days.
Make a note of what records were being played that were his, namely The Farm, Beautiful South, etc. And that's how I started working for him. And then he got the gig to do Slade, but I became the radio oppo. So I got them on the radio and gradually built a name for myself. I did Ride for Creation. I did a very good job on Ride. I got a more radio than they ever had. So Alan McGee was very impressed, which meant that when he went and signed Oasis, he went, Dylan, I've got the ball on the spot. All you got to do is put it in the net.
I like that.
And that's how we started Oasis. And I was their radio guy. Now, Karen Williams was a TV lady. And she did the television promotions at Top of the Pops, etc. And there was always meetings. None of this Zoom. There's always endless meetings. So Gary would do the meeting with the management and the marketing and the rest of it while we were out in the field. And everything was done. We had mobile phones. I was very quick with them. I had a mobile phone in about 88, 89.
About that big.
Yeah.
Like that.
All these, when I first saw a mobile phone on a building site, the site foreman would have a mobile phone because we'd go in after the carpets. So obviously the building was built, carpets went in, then furniture went in, then the phones came in. So they had mobile, like big things, like, and you could ask if you could use the mobile because you had to ring to find out where the truck was and everything else. So I got a brick thing and all these, you're a yuppie. Oh, you're a yuppie. I mean, what? We're all going to have mobile phones soon. And of course, I had a file of facts.
Why the thought of you as a yuppie is really throwing me, Slade.
Yeah, but the thing is, everything was on the phone. You were on the phone calling people. There was no texting. There was nothing else. You had to ring somebody up and speak to them. And, you had to, and a system at Radio 1 was, the music industry is far more military than you'd think. And there were appointment schedules at Radio 1. And you had to basically have an alarm go off, right, on an alarm clock, right, go off to remind you that at 11 o'clock you must ring Steve Wright's producer to get up an appointment. And you've got a slot to then turn up in the following day or whatever. And you go in and you'd see, Simon Bates' producer, Steve Wright's producer, Jackie Bramble's producer, whatever, and play them records. And that's where I learnt very quickly, don't bore us, get to the chorus.
We love that saying, don't we?
Everyone was very friendly to each other. There'd be a squad of pluggers outside the Radio 1 building, which was then Egton House, next to the main BBC building. And we'd all basically, you'd queue up upstairs. You were allowed in, and there'd be a little queue outside a tiny office, just really small, with a CD player in it. And you'd go in, put on the record, and you had to impress them quickly. If it didn't impress people quickly, you were like, well, she's not just a bit boring, this one, Dylan, right? And you were doing your spiel about when they just currently started the tour, just had a front cover of the NME. You had to rattle this stuff out quickly. And then they never listened to the whole record. They listened to a bit, get the idea. Then you move on to the next one. Then you had your priorities. It was always like, this has to go on. And other ones that were like, you were looking for maybe some spot plays, not just...
How many would you take in at a time, would you say?
3 or 4. You had currency. Right. That's when you got hired. So I built a reputation very quickly. But this was 91. In 93, I was voted by people at radio Plugger of the Year.
Nice.
The Hotel Award, and I did it the same in 1994. Plugger of the Year, and that shut up any doubters because that was like, well, he's the Don, which did in fact meant that people were after me. So money went up on that, and we were a team. Gary, me, and Karen. And that's how we went on. So an initial thing with Oasis, because everyone asked this, is it was like we got this Columbia demo. We'll do it as a 12-inch. So take it in, but no pressure really. Just see how it sits. Lo and behold, Radio 1 had become a new groom. Matthew Bannister had become the new controller, and his job was to sweep out people like Simon Bates. Etc. And there was a new feeling, and everyone went, "Oh, this is Oasis. This is really great." And they put it on the playlist, only the C list, right? But that was where the path for Oasis was then set. So then, when you got onto Supersonic, Shake and Make, etc., they all went on the playlist. I think I can't remember. They're at least probably B list, and that started the ball rolling, and. We all ended up at Nebworth, where I negotiated with the BBC a worldwide broadcast.
Wow.
What is about them, right? It was driven by Liam. Liam was, I won't have a bad word said about him. He was wonderful. He was enthusiastic. He wanted to be everybody's friend. He wanted help. He wanted it. I got on sessions and that. I remember going to meet him at a session, and Noel was very quiet than the others. It was Liam, right? And there was once we did early on, we did the Lucy Longhurst show on BBC London, late night, right? And it was an interview. So Noel and Liam went in. Marcus Russell, the manager, came, and me, and Lucy Longhurst went, "So then, you two are brothers. What would have happened to you if you had a sister?" And Liam went, "Well, she could clean the drums, I suppose." Steve coming out of Lucy Logger's ear, like,
No,
you see? But then we kind of, they sort of somehow smoothed all that over, got over that. And we got to leave. And Noel took, Marcus took Noel somewhere. And Liam was staying in the Columbia Hotel, just off where all the bands stay on their early.
yeah, the infamous Columbia.
Yeah, just on the Bayswater Road there. I said, I'll give you a lift if you want. Now, at this point, not only did I have a mobile phone and the file effects, I had a BMW automatic, right? So I said, I'll give you a lift, I'll just get in the car. And
You were full yuppie at that point, weren't you, Dylan? Full yuppie.
Walking out, right? And Liam was all excited getting in this BMW. I went, Liam, it won't be a matter of time, and you will soon have a BMW yourself. And then I drove him out to the hotel. And I remember it was at Finsbury Park, must have been late 94, May 95. It was some big gig, whether it's the Sex Pistols or I can't remember. But Liam turned up in some big white parka and that, and shades on, and he had security. He looked like a Christmas decoration. And I just smiled at him. I was so proud of him. I went, Liam, you've made it. You've done a star. You
The rock star.
a star. And look, you've got minders and people making a fuss of you. You are a star. Well done. And that was just great, you know.
Do you still see the boys today?
If I see them, they'll always talk to me. I don't work with them now, right? But if I see them, right, you know, you bump into someone somewhere, they'll always talk to me. And yeah, and that was that. And in fact, it must have been 94 Brits. They won something, and they were on a front table, and I was further back with like the team table, and Noel came to the table and went, Dylan, because of you, we got this.
Did he?
Wow, that's awesome.
Tell Pete your cover version story about Oasis.
Hey? Oh, the
Slade one.
Coming for the Noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is pretty. I'm very proud of this, right? Because I was of a certain age to be. I was in the Slade fan club. I met Slade in 1973 at Heathrow Airport because I was stupid enough to get up at 4 a.m. and go there and meet him, and they set me on the path to think somehow I need to be in a band. And big Slade fan. Now, in 95, around the release of What's the Story. Again, they've done all the evening session stuff with Steve Lamacq and Joe Wiley and all that. So we're going to XFM, which is this little alternative state, trying to get a license. Mary Ann Hobbs show. And we presented them with a disc. They had some multi-platinum disc, double platinum disc for Definitely Maybe. And coming up was going to be, you know, the release of What's the Story. And they do an interview, and Mary Ann said, "Oh, stick around, you know, go into the library, pick out some tunes, you know, play stuff." So me and Noel went into this small room, which was their library, and I saw Slade Greatest Hits, which was quite surprising in an alternative rock radio station. I went, "Oh, Slade, you've got to play some Slade." And he took the CD, and lo and behold, he played wherever it was, Come to the Noise. 2 or 3 months later, Marcus Russ, the manager, rings me up, says, "Come to the office, dude. We've got to play something." "Oh, sure." Drove round to the office, and he sat me down, and he played Oasis doing Come On Feel the Noise. He went, "Your bloody fault." And then, and this is the real thing, right? The BBC are making a documentary called It's Slade in 1999. It's absolutely the best Slade documentary you'll ever see. All 4 of them, the whole history, right? So they wanted to have the thing about Oasis. So, all right, we'll interview you because you were a fan. Your first gig was Slade at the Palladium, and we want to interview Noel about the cover. So, great, fantastic. We went up to wherever Noel was, some studio, in some country studio, just outside London. And Noel did the interview, and he went, "Yeah, love Slade." He's raved about Slade. He went, "Yeah, if it weren't for Dylan, we wouldn't have done it." And that's on the BBC documentary.
I know a very interesting fact about that song. Do you want to know an interesting fact about that cover version? The Oasis cover version of Come On Feel the Noise features a very famous backing vocalist. Can you name him?
Oh, 2 points. No.
Any ideas? You'll be really surprised.
No.
And it's never, I don't think it's ever come out, so I might get sued for this. Ready?
We can't go now.
Robbie Williams.
No.
Oh,
Robbie
You're
Williams.
joking.
No, because that was when he was mates with them.
yeah.
So he went in the studio and he's singing. It's never come out.
Now that all makes sense because I was at Glastonbury when he'd split from Take That, and he was dancing with Oasis on Liam's invitation, much to no annoyance. And then again, we did sessions. I did something else at BBC London. It may have been with Paul Weller. We did these things called radio woking shows, and it was Paul Weller having a session with Paolo Hewitt, and Noel was his friend, and Robbie was at one of those. Robbie was all the time, so I got to know Robbie quite well because he was hanging around with Oasis.
Yeah. Well, that lasted for a while, and they were actually really good mates, and then it all suddenly went a little bit wrong.
Well, I was going to say, because don't you have a story, Smiley, about Noel being at a Robbie gig and giving you a hard time about being his drummer?
Yeah, so I was at a Who show, and I knew Matt Hay, who was working for the Who at the time, at Shepherd's Bush. So I went to the gig, and Noel sat three seats away from me, air drumming all night, and Zach Starkey obviously was playing, and he was air drumming all night. So anyway, afterwards, went in the bar, and there was Noel and all his mates, and I said, and he turned around and looked at me, and I said, there was some great old air drumming going on there. He was like, oh yeah, cheers. I was like, you know, obviously you know Zach, and this was before he joined Oasis. He said, yeah. He said, you know him? I said, yeah, I've known him years, yeah. And we were just chatting. It was quite nice and everything. And then Paul Stacey, one of Noel's producers, came over, and he goes, Smiles, how you doing, man? I ain't seen you. And he looks at Noel. He goes, I ain't seen him since we both played with Robbie. And Noel Gallagher went, Williams? And I said, yeah. And he went, I don't want to talk to you. He just turned his back on me. So I was like, tapped him on the shoulder, and I went, come on, don't be like that. He went, I don't want to talk to you. And all his mates were laughing, and I tapped him one more time. I went, listen, there's no need to be like that. He goes, don't want to talk to you, ha ha ha. And I swear to God, I tapped him on the shoulder. He turned around and went, why don't you ask me who I play drums for now? And he went, who? I went, Joe Strummer. I went, is that cool enough for you, Noel? And I turned around and I walked away. And still to this day, I'm like, how I had the balls to do it. And then I did see him a couple of years later, and he was actually very cool because I was playing with Strummer, and he was lovely. But he can be quite prickly, can't he, Noel? Depends which one you get. He plays to the gallery a little bit.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, but majority of greats can be prickly.
Of course.
Yeah. Just the way it is, you know, it's just the way it is. But you've got to stand your ground. You've got to stand your ground. You cannot let them walk over you.
Who would you give us some prickly people? Who can you remember? Who were slightly, you were walking on eggshells with?
Oh, I'm not doing that.
I thought I had him, Pete. I thought I had him for a minute. We should have got him drinking. We should have lathered him up a little bit.
No, I'm not doing that.
How far into Oasis's kind of career did you go? Were you on the Blur Oasis? Were you on
all of it?
Country House?
Yeah, the Blur, a whole lot, mate, all the way.
Oh, really? So you were on the Blur Oasis Country House roll with it?
90, yeah, a whole shebango. The whole thing, the whole sales thing, the news at 10, the whole thing. But that was 95. We got to Nebworth, 96.
Yeah.
Then went on, Be Here Now album, the release of that, track leaks at radio. That was a song and dance. And then to the end, even at Wembley Stadium, when that was really strange, we did an afternoon interview must have been a Sunday afternoon for Gary Crowley. Liam was sloshed before he went on at Wembley Stadium. And then what he was doing, Noel would sing 2 or 3 songs. And Liam didn't walk off and come back. He stood at the side, sort of taking the mickey. He was
at Wembley Stadium.
He kind of taking the mick out of his brother. He was like, usually that's what usually happens. Is someone else is going to sing, you know.
Yeah.
And the other person, I'm sure when Keith Richards sings Happy, Mick Jagger either walks off or is up the front on the tambourine, giving him full support.
Yeah.
In this case, Ian was at the side, taking the sort of piss out of him. You know, it was just like...
That was always a ticking bomb, wasn't it? That was always going to last for a certain point. And once it went, it went.
As it went, yeah. So that was a ticking bomb.
Wow.
What I was going to say was it all sounds very glamorous, all of this, but you're under intense pressure, right? It's like taking penalties all day long. But like, for example, Harry Kane comes on the pitch for England, he might have to take a penalty, he might not. He doesn't know how the game's going to go, right? But on this, you'll know you're taking penalties all day long. You have to get records on that Radio 1 playlist, right? Radio 2 at this point in time, we're talking 90s and 90s. Radio 2 was a bit of a sleeping giant that no one really paid much attention to. Like, I used to get The Beautiful South on Radio 2, or Gabrielle did that, softer records, but no one really sort of got that excited, and the rotation was quite low on it. Capital Radio was also important. But the mother for the area that I was in, which was like alternative rock, the Britpop thing, really. You can't call Oasis Britpop, a little bit careful with that. But coming out of that, it was all about Radio 1.
But that was the glory time. If you were involved in Britpop, not necessarily Oasis, did you do some of the other Britpop stuff as well around that time?
Primal Scream, Boo Radleys from Riot.
Really? Wow.
I did one Manic's album. That was a bit later on, the Manic Street Preachers. Depeche Mode, they weren't Britpop. In fact, Paul Slim, Left Field, and of course Paul Weller. And Paul Weller, of course, was the mod father. And that was interesting how he had his, not the second coming, the third coming. He'd done the Jam, done the Star Council, and he started again.
Yeah.
And wasn't playing Jam or Star Council numbers.
Yeah.
Without Paul Weller. And that was where he got his new audience when Damon Albarn and Noel and that was all raved about Paul Weller.
Yeah.
Famous NME front cover where he was the mod father. And of course, Paul Weller was then in his 30s, but Noel and Damon Albarn are all in their 20s. So he looked much younger, and he did look like a mod father. Never mind the fact that he's now about to become 66. Right? He was older. And I remember doing this Steve Remack interview about Paul Weller's album. And Steve kept asking him about Blur and Oasis. Paul got, look, I can keep talking about them. Talk about my album. He got a bit like, bloody well asking me about them. The big one on that, this was a pressure cooker moment. We were Oasis and Blur all over Radio 1, right? And they'd done Earl's Court, and this was the young crowd. But we weren't on Capital Radio. Capital Radio were playing Gabrielle, and pop, right? They didn't play guitar music. Right? They were like a completely different audience, right? And we got to the that big debate. What was it now? I've got it written down here somewhere. I'm not sure I get it right. It was Some Might Say and Country House, wasn't it?
No, it was Roll With It.
It was Roll With It and Country
House. Yeah.
5, right? And the Capital playlist used to be the Radio 1 playlist. You had to go and pick it up. It was about 4 pieces of paper to collect it. Capital was 1 piece of paper, a smaller list, and it was faxed out at a certain time. And the guy called Richard Park, he ran the station, he controlled it. And you send him faxes, you try to call him, get his secretary, fax through, please consider this record for the playlist, please consider it, and all the facts about it. And the playlist came through at 3 p.m. on whatever afternoon it was, and it's alphabetical. Started coming through, new additions were in bold. Blur, Ad, Country House. Well, no. Still picking up. I was leaning over this fax machine. What's in the stick?
LMN.
Get down, LMN, and then we had to get to Oasis, and there was Oasis.
Amazing.
And it was like just put the ball in the net, like in the cup final. It was like, we've done it. You know, it's there. it's there. And all right, so both bands went on, and that brought both bands into a whole new audience. And when they did Earl's Court again, people like Lennox Lewis turned up and that, and Brett Bruno turned up. It was a mainstream audience. The audience had changed. It became more like a football crowd. You know,
Did you realise, Dylan, did you realise at the time with the whole Blur Oasis thing, did you know that was going to blow up as big as it did? And like on News at 10 and stuff like that?
No, because it wasn't planned. It's been analysed that a Blur moved forward because they wanted to make sure they got number. They didn't want to go in the second week of Oasis, and there was some miscommunication again, just phone calls, whatever. They ended up on the same week. And that was that. And that was the speed of it, you know. So to go from playing small, Oasis grew so fast. And when they put Nebworth on sale that summer of the 96, they could have actually sold 12 out.
Amazing.
We had a big announcement. It was Chris Evans then. They were big announcement. Tickets will be on sale Friday morning, 9 a.m. And again, none of this Ticketmaster, bloody computers that ring up.
Yeah.
And they had some switchboard system. And Marcus said later on, he said, we could have actually sold 12 Nebworths.
That's amazing, isn't it?
That unbelievable. That was unbelievable. And I remember the following week, I had to go to Swindon or somewhere or other for something or other. And on the train and at Paddington Station, there were loads and loads of people with Oasis first. A little bit of the gigs. But here, this is where something went very wrong, right? On the Be Here Now album, anticipation for this third album, Through the Roof, right? The first single was Do You Know What I Mean, right?
Yeah. We
then were going around radio stations to play them in, so the heads of music could hear it. And you take in a CD and you play it, but you have to take the CD back, right? In Scotland, at one of these, wherever it was, Radio 5 or something like that, some station, the cheeky little bit of music, he had a DAT player running under the desk. And when my original guy went in and played it, the DAT recorded it.
No.
And then we had it all planned to go to Radio 1 on whatever day it was, a Monday morning or something. And Capital would have got it at the same time. You go in, you have to have, then you have to deliver. It wasn't, you couldn't send it out. You couldn't send a WAV like on a computer. You had to with a team of us, we had to be outside each radio station at 9 in the morning.
With physical product.
Yeah, we had phones. So you ring, so you there? Yeah, you're there. Right, we go in now. And you'd go in and deliver it. So this guy in Scotland, Jimmy Fast Boy, he rang Richard Parker at Capital, who was his over boss, because all these commercials were linked. And he was also Scottish. He goes, I've got it. So somehow he sent it to him through their computer system.
Wow.
And then Richard Park rang me up. He goes, hey, Dill, you're right. It was Friday afternoon. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I've got the new Oasis thing. What do you mean you got it? Said, I've got it. Have you got the A side and the B side? Yeah, I got it, all of it. I went, oh no, I'm going to play it. I'll give you half an hour. You put the phone there. I'll give you half an hour. So I was out somewhere. I had to get hold of the boy in the office, lad in the office in Roland. I called Joe Wiley in the studio now. I tell you, Oasis record's coming in. We had studio numbers. You had the direct numbers. You ring the studio like when the record's on. Joe, Oasis record's coming in half an hour. Capital's got it and he's going to play it first if we don't get it to you. Oh, okay. And this guy had to drive up to West End as fast as possible from Fulham. I need to radio over the city. And they played it on Radio 1. And then Richard Park ran and go, oh, you beat me. Oh, you beat me.
Amazing.
Was there like a pecking order in these things? Like, did you have to give it to Radio 1 first?
Well, yeah, because they played the band first. But yeah, oh yeah. So that afternoon, the Oasis single was then played on every single station in the country. Because once that network, the Capital Network had it, Radio 1 had it, not Radio 2, but it was out. But then there was a big furor. There was like a criminal court case.
Really?
The furor. Marcus Russell went ballistic. You know, like you think a James Bond trailer of a film would be stolen and played on TV before the release of the film, you know, and they were the biggest band in the country. So there, and in the end, this guy, that's how it came to light. The guy in Scotland confessed what he'd done, and he bowed and apologised and all the rest of it. I mean, no one got killed, right? No one got injured. So he had to, there were some serious letters, legal letters written, and he had to apologise for what he did. And that changed everything, because from then on, we certainly had CDs. We went into radio stations, us, Blur Camp, Parlophone, Warner Brothers, whatever, new Madonna record, new Prince record, whatever. You went in with your own machine, you played it, and you walked out with your own machine.
Wow.
You never handed the product over to a head of music. So whoever, Kylie Minogue, whoever was hot to trot, you walked in with it and said, well, I'm going to play you now this. You hear it, got it, you hear it again if you want, right, I'm done.
See you later. Do you know, Dylan, when I was back in 97, when that came out, when Be Here Now came out, I was in the studio with Robbie, and we got in the studio, and Oasis were in there that day. We were in there for 2 days, and Oasis were in there because I saw Liam in the canteen, and I asked him what he was doing there, and he said, "I'm just here to annoy my brother. I'm not actually singing," because they were doing the master plan, right? So anyway, the next morning we got in the studio, and Guy Chambers said, "You'll never guess what we've got." I said, "What?" And he held up this gold CD. He went, "This is Be Here Now." I thought, "What? The new Oasis album, which isn't out?" He went, "Noel Gallagher left it last night."
No.
And the guy in the studio went, "Who wants a copy then?" So they started copying the copies, right? By lunchtime, we all had a copy in our pocket. By lunchtime, someone came round, took every copy back because they'd been on the phone, and Noel had gone, "I've left it at the studio," and they pulled them all back. But yeah, I remember they played it in the studio. It was
I bet there's some still out there in the wild.
So you had you guys in the studio felt guilty that it was in your back pocket. You handed it over.
Yeah, totally, because they weren't messing about either. They were like, "Give it back now," or else like they're on the phone. They're going to sue anybody. Like, it was really heavy. Really heavy.
I mean, I remember it's sort of a lesser level. That's you know, I remember years ago when Nirvana's Nevermind came out. At the time, I used to work for a company called Caroline International. We would get, because everything, it would come out on I think it's come out on the Monday, and we'd get all the shipments in on the Fridays, so you'd get them kind of ahead of schedule. So I took mine home. I took mine home that was playing it before anyone. Even something at that level was really exciting. Back in those days where, you know, literally you had to get the physical product.
You had what happened was you had watermarked CDs. CDs were also made to individual names. When we got onto like Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, I'm pretty sure it was that one. It was all planned to come. The first single will drop on the day we came back, 4th of January. Like you had the Christmas break, and I did that. And I'm sure it was something like 4th of January, whatever, for sake of argument. And we all went outside the radio stations. Absolute Radio, that's what it was called then. Capital, Radio 1. And we were all, "Morning, yeah, Happy New Year. Right, you all in position? Got the CDs? Go in now."
Wow, like a military operation.
Yeah, the music industry is
on the phone. "Ready? Go now."
Yeah, music.
Come on, yuppies.
Very,
get your file of faxes.
Very military. But Chris Evans had the breakfast show on. I can't remember when it changed his name from Virgin to Absolute. But I'm very matey with him because when he was on BBC London, I got to know him when nobody really cared about him. So I was all over him at Radio 1, and then do the breakfast show. You had to sort of basically get there. He finished at 9. So you had to be loitering outside at 9 o'clock when he'd come out. And, "Oh, Dills, Chris, I'll see you. Oh, by the way, I've got this." You had to catch him, like, bang, first thing. You know, when you're turning up 11 o'clock, he's gone.
Yeah, it's almost like stalking them.
Yeah, professional stalking. And the Radio 1 playlist thing, that was a performance, we'd all be standing outside whichever building it was in, and they kept changing when the thing would come out, but it'll come out say at 1 p.m. on Wednesday or whatever. And this lady, Claire Marvin, would go upstairs and get printed off sheets, bring them downstairs, and go, here we are. And we'd all go, thank you, and grab this bit of paper, and then we'd all look at it, and you'd either be going, yeah, internet. Or oh my God, no, it's not on. Oh, no. Oh my God, no, it's not on. Oh my God, no, it's not on. Right? Fortunately, it didn't happen to me that often. And then you can start the mobile phone. Yeah, I can't speak to a marketing manager. I can't speak to the manager. You're on the list. You're on the B list, or you've moved up. You've moved up to the A. You moved up to the A. Right, and then there was a cafe around the corner, and I used to go in there after it, just like
hyperventilated.
It was like the big game, you know.
So was there ever any aggro between the pluggers?
There was never face to face aggro, but as you walked away from Radio 1, I could feel all the knives going in my back.
Yeah.
Well, just to blow my own trumpet. But at one point in time, I'd quite often, I say we, because we became a team. Anglo Plugin became very much a team. In fact, we won. It became from being an individual award in 93, 94, and made it a team award. Independent pluggers, we won that at 7 out of a possible 11 times. Wow! And so we had 9 records on playlist. Few times we never get 10. Never get 10.
Really? Yeah. So was there a lot of kind of greasing of the palm that went around this time to kind of keep the plugger happy? What sort of things were you given?
Tickets to gigs. Never. There's no payola in the UK. There's no payola, right? But you did grease the wheels. You know, somebody to go to a gig or something. You made sure you got them tickets. Would you like to go for a meal before? Get a bite to eat before? You know, we'd go for and it wasn't like, well, it's your round next. It was like, it's always my round. You know, and you took care of people after shows and this and that, and
wow, you're pretty powerful in the whole circle of the bands and stuff. You were pretty powerful, right?
Yeah, the main heyday of it was the 80s. Though I missed that. Matthew Bannister was a bit more controlled about how many free lunches are going on here, you know.
Right.
But I did the NME Brat Awards and all that. But about this highway thing. U2, any record they release is first played by Dave Fanning on RTE in Ireland.
Right.
Because he first played them way back, right, in 78, when they did that first old record.
What, and they stayed, they honoured him all the way through, did they? Wow.
Now, it was, when I worked with them from 2000, Beautiful Day, 2004, wasn't so bad then. You could arrange it that day, and then the people at Radio 1, they all went, well, it's Dave Fanning, right? And it only broadcast where it was. As the world has changed, that's become, I don't work with them anymore, but become more complex, right? Because RTE radio is now broadcast on to internet, so it's everywhere. So not so difficult, more difficult to manage. But again, the track is digitally serviced. So
Beautiful Day must have been one of the biggest tracks you were involved in, surely.
Oh, well, that was a great time. But that was, you get a bit of luck along the way. You know, the previous pluggers retired and U2 didn't want to go in-house at Island Records. They liked independence. They went, well, who's hot? Well, this bloke called Dylan White and his partner Gary Blackburn. So see you. And I had Lucien Grange, who was the MD of Universal Group. Universal called me up. We've got to talk. Come see me. I want you to do U2. And then got flown over to Dublin to meet Paul McGuinness. Me and Gary went, meeting in the Clarence.
What was he like? What was Paul McGuinness like?
Oh, he's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Proper gentleman. Absolute.
I've only ever heard good things about him from everybody. Because wasn't he like the fifth member? They split everything 5 ways and stuff.
They refused to call him that, but he was absolute. And he could talk to them as they were then.
Right.
He wasn't awed by the fact that they were doing all these Wembley stadiums and that. For him, they were the four lads playing some youth club in Dublin.
Amazing.
You know, so he just talked to them as they would work. But that was their. So he said, okay. He said, yeah, well, yeah, you do all this. I hear you're very good. What about payment then? So I said, well, we do a fee and then we have bonuses. But bonuses, we have penalty clauses.
That'll inspire you to work harder.
So listen, we're sort of coming up on our allotted 45 minutes of
I could talk to you for hours, Dylan.
I know. Well, this is the problem. So just one little interesting thing. Out of all these things, what is the most awkward and embarrassing moment that you've had?
Oh, the clanger.
The clanger.
Yeah, I thought about this actually. Me and a guy, Roland Hill, we were very close. We were the radio team together, and me and him. But we'd expanded from just three of us. I meant 17 people at one point. We were a hit machine, and we did regional radio. So we could have done Muse, and we let them go.
No.
But what happened was, I can't remember the guy's name. We did a single on an independent label. And this manager was pestering all the bloody time. And we didn't charge him very much because it was just independent. And we struggled. We couldn't get the damn thing played, right? It was a nightmare. And then he had another one. And Roland and we were like, do we want this bloke on the phone every 5 minutes about his record? Like, do we really want it?
Wow.
And we were like, we didn't do it.
So we have to. So Dylan, we do have to. I have to say before we go, you are now a singer-songwriter, and you have got your own album out, haven't you? You want to give it a quick plug? See what I did there?
A week or two later, my guy Ray went, "Yo, guess what? Steve Lamass has played that Muse record."
No.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
So, in my older age here, I have gone back to being a musician.
Yeah.
And Smiley here has very magnificently produced and played everything on this album by my scratchy guide guitar.
I honestly, I so enjoyed doing that album with you. Because obviously we became really good mates as well. But it started off as I've got these old demos, and it was literally you and an acoustic guitar or whatever from 1980. And then we grew. It was brilliant. I loved it.
So, and it's recently had a 3 out of 4 star review in Mojo.
Awesome.
Amazing. There you
That's
go.
great.
Read. All right. I was quite amazed at the amount of people that went, "Dill, you're in Mojo."
That's amazing.
And I play live. I do a lot of open mic gigs, and I'm getting more and more confident at doing it. And people saying I'm not a very good singer. I'm not a sort of Simon Cowell X Factor type of singer. I'm very monosyllabic. But enough people come up to me after things and say, "Dill, you sound really great. I love your voice. I really love your voice."
You got an original voice, Dylan. That's the thing. You know, put it in the same bracket as Leonard Cohen and Lou Reed and people like that.
Say distinctive.
Distinctive, absolutely. Better to have a distinctive style than be able to sing in tune like everybody else. That's what I say. Not that you don't sing tune.
I get someone to film me on the phone, listen to it back, and I listen closely. Go, am I in tune? And I am in my own way. You know,
you are.
I'm not.
You are. You're in tune on the album because I put auto tune on you and it didn't work. So there you go. I tried it and it was like, oh no, that's not for him. Let's keep it the same. So no, listen, I've got to say, I loved working with you in the studio. And the irony was, we got about 3/4 of the way through the album, we still hadn't actually met in the studio, had we? You think we were doing it via computers and stuff, and then one day you were like, "Do you think I should come in?" I was like, "Yeah, that'd be nice." So you finally came in.
Yeah, you clocked it pretty quick, like what I was after. Yeah. You know, the guitar sounds were a cross between Mick Johnson and Mick Jones.
That's it. This is what everybody wants, right?
And so Ronnie Wood. There's one. Yeah. It's perfect. You know, and obviously you're drumming and you're bass playing.
He's bass player. You played bass.
Sorry, Pete. I should have given you the shout. Sorry, mate.
Can't believe...
Next time, I tell you what. There you go. I'll put it on record now. The next album, Dylan, Pete Roythorne will play bass on it. How's that? All right.
Oh, Pete, you're a bass player then.
I am, yeah. For my sins.
Stephen, we've spoken about the alarm and how I explained to Mike Peters that it ain't going to work going to radio with an alarm record. You've got to come up with a mysterious pseudonym.
Ah, you did that one, did you?
That was all my suggestion, my idea, and we pulled it off. Steve Lamacq was so angry with me when he discovered that the poppy field that he'd been raving about and 45 RPM was the alarm. He was furious.
It's all in the book, kids. It's all in the book. Dylan, man, it's been great having you on. I could go on for another hour. It's brilliant stories, and thanks for coming on.
We spoke about Joe Strummer and how I got him on later with Jules Holland, which you may think, well, that would have been easy. He's Joe Strummer. No, it wasn't. There was big problems.
I know. I was on it.
Yeah. There was big problems getting him on there.
I remember it. I thought, wow, I see our paths have crossed quite a few times before we met.
A lot of hoops to get the headmaster of later, Mark Cooper, who, because I'm well sure you know, Joe smashed, he hit a camera at Glastonbury with a mic.
That's right.
He was angry. Well, the BBC were very angry about it. I got shown
that as well.
Got hauled into the office. Mark could sit down, and he showed me the footage from that camera. It was unbelievable.
Did that, didn't he?
Absolutely fantastic. Best.
I know, mate. I was sitting behind him at the time, going, "What is he going to do now? He's not going to twat him, is he?" Oh, he has twatted him.
No, I had to jump for effect. In fact, Joe had to write a letter of apology. He had to write a letter.
Did he? Oh, wow.
But then I came to your rehearsal in King's Cross.
That's
I
right.
had a set of you guys rehearsing. Take that to later for him to hear what the Mescaleros really sounded like.
Wow, man.
And once he'd done all of that, then he went, okay, I suppose we should have him on.
There you go. It doesn't get any better than that. You were the man who got Joe Strummer on later. There. We'll finish with that one. Dylan, we're going to have to say goodbye, man. Thank you so much. What a great guest. Thanks, man.
Dylan White, you've been a star.
See you later then.
There you go, friends. Another fabulous episode. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can get in touch with me at Smiley the Drummer on Instagram, Steve Smiley Barnard on Facebook. Peter,
and
people need to send their clangs in. How do they do it?
We have an email address, ladies and gentlemen. We have an email address, which is it's clangpodcast@gmail.com. Once more, that's clangpodcast@gmail.com.
Wow. What amazing coincidence, eh? That kind of ties in with the whole premise.
It's amazing. I'm, to be honest, I'm amazed they still had it available, actually. I thought that had gone a long time ago.
Anyway, clangers, we shall see you next time for the next episode with another celebrity guest. It's good night from me. It's good night from him. Good night.
It's good night from him again. Bye.
The podcast.